From the coincidence of existing at the right time to flying whale pieces destroying a car, here are 10 coincidences that are out of this world. Number 10. Wikipedia edit predicts death. Have you ever predicted a murder by total accident? This was the case for an anonymous Wikipedia joker who made an interesting edition of a Wikipedia page for professional fighters. The page was for fighter Chris Benoit, a WWE veteran who, for unknown reasons, took the life of his family on June 25, 2007, and then his own. 14 hours before the police discovered the bodies, someone edited Chris Benoit's Wikipedia page to say Chris Benoit has been replaced by Johnny Nitro for the ECW World Championship at Vengeance since Benoit was not able to attend due to personal problems stemming from the death of his wife, Nancy. What the police thought after seeing this entry was that someone knew what happened before they did. Following an investigation, police were able to trace the publisher's IP address to Stamford, Connecticut, where WWE's headquarters are located. Police were finally able to find out who made the publication, and the person in question stated that all of this was a joke gone bad and a horrible coincidence. Police examined the computer of the said person and called the publication an incredible obstacle to their investigation. They concluded that as weird as it might have seemed, everything was really a big coincidence. Number 9. If it wasn't for a movie. On March 30th, 1981, President Ronald Reagan was shot by John Hinckley Jr., an assassin who would have succeeded if it had not been for the swift action of one of Reagan's bodyguards, Special Agent Jerry Parr. There's no question that Hinckley was a bit of a psychopath, because the motivation for the attack was to impress Jodie Foster, an actress he became obsessed with. This is not the important thing here, though. Many people know that Ronald Reagan was a movie star long before he was president. According to Reagan, one of the worst films he has acted in is The Secret Service Code, which is the second of 4 films made in the 1930s to show law enforcers in a good light. Millions of people have seen The Secret Service Code. One of them was a very young Jerry Parr. According to Parr, this movie about Ronald Reagan, which he saw as a child, was one of the main reasons he decided to become a Secret Service agent. If Reagan had not made this movie, or if the studio found another actor for it, Jimmy Parr would not have become a special agent and would not have been there on March 30th to save Reagan's life by escorting him quickly to an armored limo. Experts say Parr's quick reaction to the situation saved Reagan from being shot in the head. Number 8. First and last victim of World War I. The First World War is known as one of the most terrible wars ever fought, and the conditions in which it was fought were more than terrifying. Many suffered from trench foot, slept with rats, and died of pneumonia, among other things. The whole war was such a terrible thing that the leaders of the world at the time swore that nothing like that would ever happen. As history tells us, the oath was broken a little over 20 years later. More than 17 million people were killed during the First World War I, and another 20 million were injured. The first Commonwealth soldier killed was John Parr, who was only reported to be 16 when he was killed on August 21, 1914. 4 years later, the last Commonwealth soldier that gave his life was the 36-year-old soldier George Allison. He passed away an hour before the ceasefire at 11 a.m. on November 11, 1918. Both men are buried in the St. Symphorian Military Cemetery, which is the final resting place of 513 soldiers. By pure coincidence, the 2 soldiers have been buried with their graves facing each other. This coincidence would have been quite a statement if it wasn't totally random. The tombstones of the first and last victim facing each other, maybe karma tried to tell us something, but whether this was the case, we may never know. And now for number 7. But first, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss out on more videos like these. Number 7. Solar eclipses. There are approximately 2 solar eclipses each year. A solar eclipse is when the Earth and the Moon align in such a way that the Moon passes in front of the Sun, blocking it completely, allowing light to slide in only on the sides. Anyone who has seen the phenomena can confirm that it's definitely something amazing, but it's something we take for granted. There are literally no other planets to experience solar eclipses the way that we do. Currently, the Earth is an ideal place where the Moon and the Sun look the same size, although the Sun is 400 times larger than the Moon, but is approximately 400 times farther than the Moon. But as the Earth, Moon, and Sun travel together through space, in time, the distance between them will change to such an extent that the solar eclipses will happen no more. It's a surprising coincidence that humans coexist with the phenomena of the solar eclipse. Scientists cannot calculate the likelihood of the human race coexisting with the phenomena of solar eclipses because we only inhabit the only known planet where this phenomena occurs. So we're extremely lucky to witness it with our own eyes. something that one day future generations might not be able to see at all. Number 6. Lines on red plastic cups. Red Solo cups are a major part of the excessive alcohol consumption in the United States. Many people have seen them in movies about high school and college parties, and they wonder if they really are that popular and present in almost every party. The answer is yes, because they are a solution to so many problems. A cheap cup that has lines to correspond with drink sizes? What's not to love about them? For example, from bottom to top, the first row is an ounce. The second one is 5 ounces, which usually is a measurement for wine, and the third and final line is the beer line, as it measures 12 ounces. While the use of the lines is common knowledge, what most people don't know is that the measurements of the lines are an incredible coincidence. According to the director of communications of the Solo Cup Company, the lines were never intended to measure anything. The whole measurement thing became part of folklore around the glass and is just a happy coincidence. I don't know about you, but I've always thought that whoever made the famous cups put the lines there with the intention to facilitate drink measurements. I guess we were all wrong, but who could have predicted such a perfect coincidence? Number 5. The DDay Crossword. D-Day was almost canceled due to an incredible coincidence involving a Daily Telegraph crossword puzzle. Leonard Daw, a crossword puzzle master at the Daily Telegraph, was also the principal of Strand School, which was evacuated during World War II and moved to Effingham in Surrey. There was a large military camp near the school where American and Canadian troops remained until preparing for D-Day. Often, children at school interacted with soldiers, and soldiers shared words from the military code. Leonard Daw was just a man, and he wasn't physically able to make countless crossword puzzles by himself, so he would often call students in his office and fill spaces in with word crosswords. From there, Daw would get to work to finish the crosswords. So the problem that happened was that Daw called upon the help of the students learning the keywords used for D-Day, and they spelled those words in the crosswords. 5 keywords for D-Day, Utah, Omaha, Overlord, Mulberry, and Neptune, were placed in the Daily Telegraph's crossword puzzles within 2 weeks of the planned attack. Naturally, this made the British Secret Services investigate what to them seemed like an act of espionage. But everything was quickly discredited, and it was revealed to be an awkward coincidence. The operation went according to plan. What happened next made history. Number 4. Mark Twain and Halleys Comet. Mark Twain is mainly known for 2 things: writing great things and participating in one of the wildest coincidences of all time. Mark Twain was born shortly after the arrival of the Halley Comet in 1835. The comet is visible from Earth every 76 years or more, so for the most part, it is something that can be seen once in a lifetime. If you miss it once, I hate to tell you, but you'll never see it again. The next one won't appear until 2062, so if you hadn't had the chance to see it back in the day, I might just have some bad news for you. Okay, back to Mark Twain. In 1909, Mark Twain said that he came with the Halley Comet in 1835, and he is expecting to leave this world next year when the comet comes again. He also said that he would be mortified if he didn't leave his bodily vessel with the appearance of the comet. Well, as fate would have it, a year later, in 1910, Mark Twain suddenly died of a heart attack the day after Halley's Comet was visible. The whole thing is either a crazy coincidence or there is truly something scary that we don't know. In summary, Twain was born with the comet, predicted the comet coming back, and passed away after it came. No wonder some conspiracy theorists think that he was an alien visitor. How do you explain coincidences like these? Number 3. An Unheard Warning. A dead sperm whale appeared on the beach in Florence, Oregon. To remove the body, the Oregon Highway Division decided to load it with 20 boxes of TNT and blow it sky high. The plan was that the explosion would disintegrate the whale to small enough pieces for the scavenger birds to finish off. Are you starting to wonder what might have gone wrong? Well, actually, everything did. The people that decided to detonate the whale didn't have any prior experience with dynamite. George Thornton, the man that was in charge of the operation, didn't have a clue how much explosive to use. And truth be told, he was the head of the operation because he was filling in for engineer Dale Allen that went hunting that day. Don't worry, the plot is just starting to thicken. War veteran Walter Umenhofer tried to intervene, saying that the amount that was being discussed, approximately half a ton, was way more than what was necessary for a job like that. He told everyone that 20 sticks would be more than enough. But George ignored the advice and simply agreed with his initial estimate of how much dynamite was needed. Pretty concerning how someone without prior experience with explosives says that half a ton of dynamite will do the trick and no one tried to stop him. The resulting explosion sent pieces of the whale as far as 800 feet. Walter, the man who said they were using too much dynamite, owned a new car that he bought recently, and unfortunately, the car was completely crushed by a falling piece of the whale. Karma must have had a good laugh. Number 2. Longlost Brother saves the day. The United States is a huge place. It looks even bigger if you're not quite sure how much walking you have to do before you reach the other side. That was the case for Lewis and Clark, who with the help of Sacagawea, who was in their party, traveled to the Pacific. The trip had a series of unforeseen and unfortunate events, but perhaps the worst was when the travelers were stuck in the Rocky Mountains. Without a guide or horses, Lewis and Clark came across a group of Shoshone Indians, led by a man named Kimawat. Normally, Lewis and Clark would have been in the worst of situations. Keep in mind that the events took place around the 1800s, but thanks to the small world that we live in, things took a strange turn. To their surprise, Sacagawea was actually Kimawat's lost sister. When she was a child, she was abducted and removed from her tribe. Now, years after the fact, by being lost, she found her brother by complete accident. Kimawat agreed to help them and led the group through the Rocky Mountains. Just what are the odds of this ever happening? You lose your way in a mountain, meet some Indians, their leader is your long-lost brother? How is that not turned into a Hollywood movie already? Number 1. Nebraska Church Explosion. The weekly practice of choir was to continue as usual at 7:20 p.m. on Wednesday, March 1st, 1950. At 7:25 p.m., the church exploded unexpectedly, causing a nearby radio station to stop transmitting and breaking windows in the area. As a result, but surprisingly, none of the 15 members of the choir were injured. This might sound incredible as it is, but the reason for them not being hurt is even weirder. Each of them was late that night. The odds of one person being late was 1 in 4. The chance that all of them were late was more than 1 in 1 million. Let me just tell you, by complete coincidence, everyone got saved from explosion. The Reverend Walter Klemple arrived before the singers to turn the heating on. He then went back home to grab a bite to eat and was ready to return at 7:10, but he couldn't because he needed to iron his daughter's dress. LaDonna Vandergift was a sophomore, usually arrived early, but this time she had a math problem that she wanted to finish before she got to practice. Royanna Estes and her sister Sadie Estes couldn't get to church on time because their car broke down. They called LaDonna to come and get them, but they had to wait for her to finish the math problem. Leonard Schuster usually arrived at 7:20 with his daughter Susan, but this time, Susan paid a visit to her mother's house so she could help her mother prepare for an event. Herbert Kiff was late due to an important letter that was due to procrastination was not ready on time. Joyce Black was luckily feeling lazy enough to leave her house at the last possible moment and be late for church. Harvey Owl was taking care of her children and simply lost track of time. Marilyn Paul, the pianist, and his mother were late because Marilyn, who was supposed to drive his mother to church, fell asleep after dinner and woke up late enough to not be able to make it on time. Lucille Jones and Dorothy Wood usually walked to church together, but this particular day, Lucille decided that she would wait for her favorite radio program to finish before she went to practice. Her friend decided to wait with her. Firefighters say that the explosion may have been caused by natural gas leaking into the church from a broken pipe outside the building. It's suspected that the fire from the heater ignited the explosion, but if you ask one of the church choir members about the incident, they'll tell you it was an act of God. If that's not something to write home about, I don't know what is. Thanks for watching. Which one of these coincidences astounded you the most and why? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time.